You're an hour ahead of me, aren't you? I wasn't insulting you, John.
What'd you say?
You were sat on the phone and then what'd you say?
You take a shot at Ryan Gosling and then what you coming at me with?
Oh, man.
Jensen just throwing it out there, man.
Always got something stupid to say.
And in the contrarian corner, we have Mr. Jensen Taylor.
I can't help it. It's just, facts.
You're British. Yeah.
That's why you're not a superpower anymore.
Shut up. You love it over here.
It is pretty cool. I thought I was a Londoner when I was there for 3 days.
You're more of a
dry
Londoner
cleaning. Got my Pret. Got my sausage roll from Greg's.
The proper way of doing it has to be Greg's.
Welcome in, everybody, to episode 73 of the Plastic Posse podcast. Glad you're joining us today. We really, really appreciate it. Today, we've got a great cast and crew for you. We're going to start with Mr. Jensen Taylor. How you doing, Jensen?
I'm very well. I'm splendid. It's not long now till Nats, till I fly out to the great US of A. Yeah, I'm really good. Can't wait. I'm excited.
Man,
all positive vibes here.
Nats is screaming down on us like crazy.
Yeah, too quick.
TJ Howler, how you doing? How are things in Virginia?
Pretty good. Glad to be here. I missed the last one because I was on vacation, which was nice and relaxing. And actually, I'm getting ready to go on another vacation this coming week. So Look forward to that because it is my 40th birthday in 6 days. So
awesome.
I'm going to Smith Mountain Lake in Southern Virginia, which is beautiful.
Happy birthday, man. That's awesome. That's a big one. 4-0. In California, Mr. Mayberry, how you doing, Grant?
I'm doing good. Just getting ready for nationals like everybody else. What is this? 1 month away, basically. Figuring out what I'm going to bring.
I just can't believe it's coming so fast.
Me neither.
Also on the West Coast, good friend, Rick Lawler. How you doing today, Rick?
Hey, guys. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me in as fifth fiddle, sixth fiddle here.
We appreciate you joining us. And live from the continent, circling way back around to Europe, our friend, the traveler, Mr. Benani. How you doing, John?
I am absolutely fantastic. So happy to be here. Apologies for the not so great audio. When I asked Scott, how was it? He's like, it's good, which in Scott's terms, it's terrible. So listeners, thanks for bearing with me this episode. I'm calling in from Koblenz, overlooking the Mosel River right now, and on a European road trip. So it's going great. We'll talk about it more soon.
Well, we're going to talk a lot more about what JB has been up to here in the episode. And hopefully you guys have been keeping an eye on our Posse group page, his JB Closet Modeler page, and extra special content for our patrons as well on Patreon. So he's been doing a great job kind of documenting what he's been doing, and we'll get back to that later. Let's start out with what everybody's kind of been up to. Jensen, it seems like you kept from melting, so how's the weather been, and what does your bench look like?
Yeah, the weather's dropped temperature wise. It's really nice now, which means it's cold. I'm going to be incredibly annoying and say nothing is on my bench, because I thought with the temperature dropping and having no distractions this week, I would have been able to get stuff done. But for some reason, it's weird. I have tons of mojo. There's so much stuff I want to do and I really want to do it and get to the bench. But for some reason, can't, for whatever reason, drag myself to the bench to do it. Don't know why. I'm getting annoyed with myself with that because there's just so much I want to do. But yeah, mine's going to be pretty short and sweet because I've done nothing.
Any new purchases or anything like that?
Yes! I did actually buy Tamiya R35. It's not here yet. Should have been here yesterday. Because myself, Zach, and Jackson are doing a little R35 project for the Triple
Oh,
P.
another group build that other
It's not a
people
group
were
build.
invited to.
It's not a group build. It's not a group build. It's not a
for
group
your
build.
buddies, not us. I guess we're not your buddy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Don't feel left out at all.
Just to reiterate, it's not a buddy build. It's a project for the Triple P. So yes, we will be working on them when
I'm
we've
in the
all got
Triple
them.
P, and I didn't get that memo.
Okay, sorry for the young members of the Triple P. It's
Ageism. That's gonna help
great.
smooth everything over there, Jensen.
yeah. Sorry, it's a 40 and under group build.
I'm
but
37.
it's a 30 and under group build. Anyway, that's me. I've nothing on the bench. Goodbye. It was nice knowing you all.
Fresh off a vacation to the Dominican Republic. TJ, tell us what your bench is looking like and what you've been up to.
My bench is crowded as usual. I can't remember last time when I talked about, I think the Churchill, I was working on that last time. That stalled, big surprise there. But after I got back from vacation, I painted a figure that I've had laying around for a little bit. It's a World War I French sailor. I haven't really been in a figure mood lately, and I just needed something to do. And my wife and kids were gone last weekend, so I had the house to myself, so I had nothing but free time. So I painted that whole thing. It was really cool. I really liked it. The best part is when I posted in a World War I modeling group, and the owner of the company that makes it reached out to me to tell me that he liked it, which was really cool. I enjoy stuff like that. Yeah. And then what else am I working on? Oh, I got I had pre-ordered it a long time ago, the new 1/35th scale Custer from Kyoto. Custer is like a bipedal tank thing with the Gatling gun in its face. It's really cool. I got that earlier this week, so I started putting that together. I finished it this morning. It's really cool. I did a bunch of upgrades to it. So I got to wait for the Tamiya putty I used to make the weld beads dry or cure before I can paint it. So that stuff's really, you can paint over it after like 4 or 5 hours. You don't have to wait I think it's fully hard after like 8, but you're not going to damage it. I've done it a number of times. Yeah. So I got that going on. Trying to think what else. Those are the two things that are really going. I've got another figure that I got primed and did like a value sketch on. So I'll probably poke around with him too, because it's a really cool sculpt. So Virginia militiamen from the Battle of Guilford Courthouse, which was a Revolutionary War battle that the Americans did not win, but the British didn't really either. It was a Pyrrhic victory. And yeah, it's a really cool figure. That's all I got going on.
I think you have a plane on that bench somewhere too, don't you?
I do. Oh, that's right. I'm glad you mentioned that. Yes, I do. It's actually right next to me. I have Tamiya's new 1/72nd scale F-35, little baby Lightning. I have not started building it yet. I have looked at it. It's really cool. I need to do an unboxing video for it, and I'm probably gonna take some sprue shots of it. It's really cool. I bought some Caracal decals to go with it, just because Tamiya decals are Tamiya decals. I mean, you can use them, but they require more work, and the Caracal decals are pretty sweet, and there's 22 marking options. Because the ones that come in the kit are only, I think there's 2 American and 2 Japanese, something like that, or maybe 1 American and 2 Japanese. There's not a whole lot of options, but this Caracal decal sheet has 22 options from like 4 or 5. Pretty much every country that flies the F-35A has decal options in there. So looking through one of those, I think I might do an Australian one just because I like the little kangaroo roundel. Even though it's 72nd scale, it's really, really tiny, but it's a kangaroo. So
that's awesome. Yeah, it's going to be really cool seeing what you do with that.
Thank you to Tamiya for sending that to us, because it is not available yet in the United States. I think it's late August when it comes out. I have to go look at the sheet of paper that came in there, but I want to say it's like late August when it'll be available here in the States.
Yeah, that sounds right. And I got a chance to peek at it before I forwarded it on, and it's a beauty of a kit. Really, really nice little model. Yeah, and I found buddy Steve Baker helped me out with the Have Glass paint. So I think I have a pretty good mix for it. It's all MRP, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but I guess for airplanes they're a little bit better. But it's like a mix of black, gray with like a little bit of chrome or it. So Have Glass paint kind of has like a metallic sheen to it. It's part of the radar absorption properties of it. It's an interesting color. So he said that he's seen someone use that mix. He got it off the internet, and he said it's the closest thing he's seen to what Have Glass actually looks like. So be interesting to play with that. Yeah, definitely looking forward to that. I'm assuming after the vacation, so something to look forward to. Speaking of kind of inbox reviews, Grant, you just did a review for our YouTube channel. That was pretty cool. And what else have you been up to?
Yeah, that was my very, very first review ever. So I'm not much. I have the Schweimagen, the Das Reich Schweimagen. If you haven't seen it, go ahead to our YouTube page, take a look at it. It's, 4 sprues basically. It's a nice little, great little kit. Can't talk enough about it. It's been fun. Work around here. I finished up a Space Marine for one of my dioramas that I had that I've taken to nationals. I finished up I'm working on another one. That'll be my last one for nationals, more than likely. Other than that, I really haven't been doing too much, just kind of figuring out what I'm going to take with me and how I'm going to pack it all up and try and get it on an airplane has been the thing. For new kits bought, I just got the confirmation yesterday that my M53 from I Love Kit is on the way from Japan, which is the big 1950s, early 60s howitzer that looks like the early M109 kind of looking thing. So that'll be here hopefully pretty soon. And when I get that, I'm going to try and do another open box video for us and put it on the YouTube page. And then I also know the Weasel should be out. The M29 is coming from TACM real soon. And I'm really excited about that. Also, I was able to get a couple of the late war German infantry figures from Tamaya that just came out. I've got those. I got 2 of those painted, and I'm getting them ready for a little diorama that I'm taking to nationals with me. So those figures are beautiful. They did a release of their infantry, the U.S. infantry figures, a little bit ago. These are just as good. The molding, the faces, you don't have to really change them out. You can go with what the box has. The faces are spot on. The molding is the way the equipment fits into the figures it's just great. And they're hiding all the seams really well. So very little cleanup. Again, thank you to Maya for sending us those. They're great little figures. They got MP44 with them. They've got Panzerfausts. They got KR98s. They got everything with them. So they're just a great bunch of figures. So can't talk enough about them.
I'm sorry, because I forgot to mention 2 things. I also got a new TACOM kit. I got the M103. I got the A2, the last American heavy tank. Finally came in. I had pre-ordered it from Andy. I looked at it. Thing's awesome. Comes with a metal barrel, which is great because the barrel is like 7 inches long. It's so big. It's a strange tank. And then I also got some of the new Tyranid figures for Warhammer 40,000. I bought them from my friend because the new box kit came out, and just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. The Tyranids are great. These are all brand new models. They're alien bug monsters, which I've not talked about in a really long time because I have a whole bunch of other ones that have never been painted. So I think I might actually paint some now. But yep, sorry, I forgot those things.
No, it's all good. And Grant, you got in a big old load of paint this week too, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I was nice enough to get a big load of paint from Two Thing Coats, Duncan, our friend. Great stuff. Can't wait to try it out. I've used this paint before, and I love it. It's really nice. Works really well. So looking forward to that also.
Awesome. Well, I was going to say, JB, you've been kind of a little bit busy. So I don't know how much you purchased, if anything, but anything caught your eye?
Yeah, so I've been out of the States for a little over 3 weeks now. Haven't purchased anything except souvenir T-shirts from museums I've been to and other trinkets, but certainly watching a lot online, and I'll probably send on a Sprue Brothers order as soon as I get home because there's a lot of cool stuff that's came out, especially all the 103s, the Yog Tiger, and a few other cool little things. So lots out there. I just, haven't pushed that purchase button, but I'm getting plenty of inspiration over here for many projects that we'll talk about.
Well, definitely so. And great reference picks for a lot of your existing projects as well. Rick, what have you been up to over there, both on Propaganda Channel and then maybe anything else?
Well, I've been knee deep in Gundam here for the last few weeks. So if you've been following the Propaganda Channel and a few other places, I'm doing a buddy build with CobraPla, Josh Scott. And so we are doing the Zegok. And that's my first foray into the Gundam world. And I got to say, I'm having an absolute blast with it. And especially because I'm working with Josh. That's his wheelhouse, Gundams, and he knows all the back history, and he's built, many of these. And so it's been a real learning experience for me and for both of us because we're pushing each other in different directions. Me coming in with my kind of little mindset and techniques, and then he with his. And so I'll see him do something and he'll see me do something and we'll have decided that we're going to try each other's things. So that's been really good. So yeah, the Gundam went together nicely. The last couple of weeks, really, the project slows down, but there's a lot of progress happening, which you'll see coming up here in the next couple of episodes. So I'm working on the base for that, and there's a lot of water features on that. So I've been pouring resin, and resin goes slowly, even slower than Tamiya putty weld beads. So you pour, you set it aside, sort of thing. So that's ongoing. So a lot of fun there. Beyond that, just work stuff. Of course, I make a lot of promotional videos and such, new product releases and how-tos and whatever for AK, and received a new box of goodies early this week, or last week, I guess it was. And so sent out, I think, 4 videos for them last week, which will show up in various social media outlets. And I'll have another 3 or 4 this coming week. So when resin's drying, I'm doing other things.
That sounds good. Well, you and I had a chance to sit down and kind of have a conversation about a lot of the AK products that, that they have and everything. And that'll either be hopefully in this episode or if not shortly thereafter. But that was a lot of fun to kind of do that with you. As far as myself, I am waiting for a new STL that is just about ready. My friend Elaine Rivard from Elaine Rivard Model Shop has been working on a sand crawler, and it is beautiful. He has actually, as part of the work for this, he's taken all the Grablies, the kits that they originally came from. He's ordered those and he's digitally modeling. I know a lot of people, when they build Star Wars studio scale models, they'll do that for their actual model. Well, he's been doing that for the digital model, and he's about, I think, 98% or so done. So looking forward to that. Went on a business trip to Chicago, so didn't really get a lot of work done on the bench. In addition to that, sort of might still be playing a little Diablo 4 too. So I haven't been super productive, but like Jensen said, I think he said it really well. I got all kinds of mojo, just don't have a lot of time. The summer always kind of seems to be like that, I think, with everybody. So anyway, well, fantastic. Well, we're going to roll into what normally would be our very first discussion point, but I am going, because he's been gone and because what he's doing is immensely cool, we are going to turn the mic over to Mr. JB and talk about what he's been up to for the last few weeks. So JB, take it away.
Yeah, Scott, and I'd encourage anybody to chip in as well, because I'm going to be asking questions to the group. So as some of the listeners probably have seen online, that I'm making my way throughout the continent of Europe. I spent some time in England and then went to France for work, and I decided to stay. So I have 2 weeks. I'm about halfway through my journey, and I have a rental car. So essentially a road trip, me, myself, and I. And my wife is back home, and she was kind enough to let me go gallivant across the land to see every tank from the Channel to the Rhine, essentially. And that's what I've been doing. The first stop was the Tiger at Vimetiers. This vehicle, I mean, it was just really cool to see. It's probably an hour and a half outside of Paris, not too hard to get to. And God bless Google Maps, because they take you, I feel like I drove through Farmers Fields, for crying out loud, but I went on the scenic route a lot. But I want to bring up this subject, and I'd love for input from the group. And I think Jensen made a comment online even about it, where you look at something like the Tiger one at Vimetiers, and it's a monument. And dare I say, I don't know if it needs to be restored and put inside. It kind of has its own personality as a monument as well. You go there and you see it, you climb on it. They have Panzer IV hatches or engine deck hatches for the rear vents. And they have other unique things. And like the monument itself now is a piece of history. And I think if someone came along and completely restored it to a pristine example of a Tiger One, you probably lose some of that. I don't know. It's a weird feeling, because I think it tells a story in itself, because it didn't move that far before it was destroyed. So I don't know, just a question out there. I'll caveat 2 differences. When I think this is a good example where it's a monument of a specific vehicle that occurred at a specific place. Now, if we're talking about Aberdeen, that's a different thing, where those vehicles have sat outside, they've rotted away, they were painted gray. There's no historical significance to the vehicle itself, other than it's just rusty as all get out and needs to be moved inside, cleaned up. But there's some of these, the Tiger One there's a few Panthers and Tiger Twos in Belgium, and then the Shermans that are littered throughout Normandy as well. I think it's very interesting, because I posted that picture online of the Tiger One, and there was a large group of people like, oh, it should be inside. I feel like the quote from Indiana Jones, that belongs in a museum. I hear Indy saying it. And I see some validity to that, but I also see a story behind the monument itself. I don't know. Does anybody have a thought on that?
I think it's like the debate with aircraft where it's like, do you restore them and fly them so that people can see? Because when you do that, there's an inherent risk. Or do you just, put them in a building? And I think in the case of the Tiger, I can kind of see both sides of it. But like you said, I think the location where it's at and the uniqueness of it, I think there's probably room for both.
I agree. I mean, context matters. That Tiger is a monument. I think it should stay where it is, where something like, okay, Tiger 131, that the fact that it is what it is important too, and that it's been preserved all these years. Obviously, I wouldn't want someone to like just take that tank and stick it out in a field and let it rot. Yeah, I mean, it context matters. So it's just like that knocked out Sherman that you sent a picture of, like that should stay right where it is. It was knocked out there. It's essentially a tomb. I mean, there's no buried there, but
yeah. What
do they call that when it's what's an empty tomb? Centipath? I think that's what that is.
I'm kind of with both. I've been there myself, and when I was stationed in Europe, that in that whole environment there in the Normandy area and the Paris area, there's a lot of stuff like that. And I think it's important and it should be kept outside. Should they protect it a little bit better? Yeah, I think it should be protected a little bit better, cleaned up, maybe something like that. It needs to be where it's at because it tells the story, like you were saying, and TJ was saying and Scott was saying, it does tell the story that, what it was like. So we wouldn't want to take, stuff from the Little Bighorn or Gettysburg and, not everything there and needs to be inside either. So that's the way I feel.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's a good example. TJ brought up the M4. God bless Google Maps. Because you can actually, I just typed in char and tank things in the Normandy countryside. One of them was an M4. I was driving out in the middle of fields. Took about probably 45 minutes to from the Tiger 1. And it's an M42 commanded by the French, I believe. It was knocked out literally where it is today. And it's a memorial to the 3 crew that were killed in it. And then also the crewmen that survived, they actually have tombstones there as well. Now, granted, they died in the early 2000s, but they want to be remembered with their crew. And I thought that was really moving. I've never experienced something like that before. We've seen destroyed vehicles in museums. Most German stuff was destroyed that we have here or in museums. But this one hit a little different because you were truly at a moment where, 3 people lost their lives in this vehicle. And it was very surreal because literally there's no one else out there. It's out in the middle of a field, a hedgerow, very peaceful, birds chirping. It's kept very well manicured and very well respected. So I thought, the Tiger was amazing, but seeing things like that, and they're all over Normandy for that, was really moving. And that was just one of the M4s I found. There's another one in the National Forest there. You're going through what you think is hedgerow country and fields, and then you have this national forest, which kind of reminds you of the Ardennes or the Appalachians in the Pennsylvania area, Maryland. And then there's an M4A2 there that was knocked out. And I read French, unfortunately, but it told a little story. They have Google Translate, which helps. But that was just a few. And then rounding out that trip into Normandy, going north through Falaise, and then up Caen. And on the road from Falaise to Caen, there's a cornfield there where actually was killed. So I pulled over, and took a picture of the field, but that's where he killed. That's where the Canadians got him. I don't know if that's still controversial who got him, it's the Typhoon or the Canadians, but I think it's accepted that the Canadians got him, right? I feel like T would do this.
Yeah, I've spoken with Jim Bates about that. And I think he's kind of feels like from a historical perspective that it was the Canadians, based on his research. So, yeah, I think that's accurate.
So I went from there. I stopped in a museum in Caen, and I stayed for 4 days. I originally budgeted just 2, but I had civilian in the schedule and doubled my time in Normandy. So I stayed at Fromage for 4 nights. Hotel de Normandy. It's under $100 a night. It's not Four Seasons, it's not the Fairmont, but it's right there on the beach with a great restaurant beneath. And the town there is lovely. easy parking on the street. After, 5 o'clock, the tourists start to leave and you can park anywhere for free. And that was the base of operations. And I visited probably over a dozen museums in the area during those 4 days. I won't everyone, but I went, Pegasus Bridge all the way out to Utah Beach. And that strip of land was really surprising how big it is. You think of Normandy, you think of but it's a lot of area to cover. And one of the places I went one morning it's called Dunes de Belleville, in the peninsula, a little bit southwest of Cherbourg. And there, it's an old gunnery range because there's destroyed armored vehicles out there. There's 3 4A1 Shermans, which I showed pictures of. There's 2 8-wheeled armored cars, the EBRs. And there's 2 half-tracks and 3s, and then a Greyhound that are literally in these sands. No one out there. I video at all of them. I'll put together something and get posted on YouTube. But at a modelers, you can pick any one of those, and there's graffiti on, there's rust patina, there's silver welds, there's weeds growing up, there's sand dunes like suspension in areas. It really is truly a people character, all of them for that matter. And what I'll do is when I get back, I'll put a little report together, and I'll actually geotag all those locations with my photos. So if you go to Normandy, you have a rental car. It's about an hour and a half on the way from the Normandy beaches, but it's well worth the trip. It has no historical connection to Normandy. Certainly, as tank, modelers, it's freaking awesome, and it's very peaceful. So, if you bring a house partner, it's not just going to find tanks, but it's actually a very beautiful area, national parks. So you can do some hiking along the beach there. There's some foothills, and there's horseback riding as well. So overall, a really good trip, for not only yourself, but a partner. In terms of the beaches, they're incredible to get to. And the museums there are very interesting in a sense. So every town has a museum essentially along the Normandy coast. And those museums, honestly, are tied to that, super specific area. And I remember the most is a place called Dead Man's. And there's a small house with a replica M5 Stuart out front. And there's a D-Day museum behind it. But what's interesting is the house played a significant role in the battle, where it was taken by Americans, retaken by the Germans, and then obviously taken again by the Americans. You can still see bullet holes in the facade. Walk in, you see the shutters, there's bullet holes. But at this location, I think it's very well done. They tell the story of not only the house, but the surrounding area. All these museums have that, where you'll go in, pictures of the town, the place, things that they found, things that were given to them, that all ties to that area. And again, I think it probably a dozen museums, and they're all between $7 and $10. Well worth it. The Orville Museum has an immense collection of armored vehicles, including Panzer IV, Panther, and then some of the best track collection I've ever seen. But also know these museums are not designed for a scale modeler. If you're looking to go get detail shots of a Panzer IV, you're not going to get them there. These museums all tell a story, and I think it's really important to hit that. They tell the story of that area, that town, like I said, those people, everything pre-World War II to the French resistance, the occupation in German in the Normandy area, and then obviously June the 6th and what happened then. So I really recommend, and I'll create a list for everyone, but the museums, I took pictures of just uniforms. For figure painters, it's like your dream for World War II. There are uniforms from everywhere there. Yeah, just really speechless. Highly recommend a car as well. I spent 5 days in the Normandy area. I probably could have spent a week or two because there's that much to see and do. And I didn't even hit everything. And I'll be real quick. I hit Mont Saint Michel, going south towards Saumur. Very touristy location, but very beautiful monastery up there on the hill. Is a walled city where I went at low tide. It's gorgeous. And then to Saumur, which is a place that I've dreamt about and amazing. I took a lot of video there. I went live from there. So plenty of content, plenty of pictures. In terms of collection, it's probably, it rivals Bovington. It rivals the U.S. Army collection. It rivals Munster. I think the one downside was they do put rope around everything, and it's very difficult if you're a modeler trying to take pictures of detailed stuff. It's hard to access those areas. I've been told that the director is open to people visiting and going like the ropes, but unfortunately they were there that day. I couldn't do that. I'm not going to say that's a downside because a lot of those vehicles I've seen already, and the ones that I haven't, I got the pictures I needed. So overall, really crazy, really great place. I will say MX 50 is freaking huge. I was surprised how big that is. The ARL 44. So Samour, unbelievable. The town of Samour is beautiful as well. And it's the City de Blondie, not Blindes. I'm saying sound like an idiot to the locals, but it is certainly just an overall amazing museum. Very emotional experience. You see a lot of these vehicles in print or online, and then you have the opportunity and you think you've already been there, and then you're actually there. So overall, 11 out of 10. And then I turned west and drove about, 600 kilometers. Some more to Verdun. I spent the day at the Dormont Ossuary, which is the tomb that has around 130,000 remains in it. Unbelievable moving experience. And then the necropolis out front has 16,000. And TJ, you were saying in the area alone, around 300,000 were killed, which is astonishing.
Yeah, I think there was like almost 1 million casualties, and of those, I think it's like a little over 300,000 people died. That includes, I think that also includes civilians, because as you meant, I don't know if you mentioned it yet, but I don't think you did, but I know you said in the chat, there's towns around the forts that were just wiped off the face of the earth and never built back. But yeah, it all in less than a year. It was I think 300-day roughly battle, one of the longest continuous battles in human history. And just a staggering number of casualties for a relatively small patch of land. The whole thing's like 8 square miles, less than that, maybe like 7 square miles. It's just, and
it's
like
wild.
In a lot of like the zone rouge, the red zones, there's still, I mean, if you dig, you'll find bones and unexploded ordnance and all sorts of other stuff. They're just, there's so many casualties, and like what I think I was saying to Ian in our chat, like there was no time or will to recover bodies. You just couldn't. So eventually, that's just where they laid, and they were obviously able to recover some. But as you mentioned from the ossuary, that there's also just pieces, bones, and so sobering to think about. But I'm jealous in a way because I've always wanted to go there. That's one of my like number one places I want to travel. But also not jealous because I mean, it's hard to be jealous of someone visiting an ossuary.
Yeah, it's quite a moving experience. I think what's in no photographs inside, out of respect to the tomb. But when you walk in, you go to the gift shop downstairs, and you come up this spiral space, and you go into it. And what's I found striking is the colored glass. It faces east, and the colored glass is. Inside, it has this flaming red color. So the entire inside is red or orange, bright orange, just very striking. And names are added every year, they were mentioned. Remains were found, the families wanting to have their members remembered, in eternity on the walls. It's just very, very moving. They have a small museum in the center of the tower as well. So highly recommend checking that out. In the area, you can do some hiking. It looks like the moon still once you look beneath the tree. I went to Fort Dormont. That place, a massive underground fort that was held by the Germans. Again, looks like the moon out top, and it's incredibly striking inside. It's a labyrinth of cave systems. It's cool, which was really beautiful. But it was a really weird experience too. It's almost fun in a sense, some of these places, because you're alone down there. There's not a lot of people. You run into a few, but there are certain portions that, like one piece got hit by a 40 centimeter mortar, I think it was, a large mortar of any kind, killed 30 or 40 Germans, and they just walled off that section and put a cross out front. And they talked about other moments where there was an accident and they lit like a dump. They killed 1,000, 1,200 people. Like these numbers, they just throw them out on a daily basis, and you don't really put context to them. So it's kind of, it's hard to fathom how many people were lost in a small area. And I stayed at a guest house, and I'd highly recommend, I'll post it online as well. This lovely old couple hosted me. They had a house in Verdun, but he talked about both their grandparents and even the others in the house, their grandparents. I think I heard a stat that 70% of all French fighters in World War I had exposure to some degree of Verdun. Of the went there, 80% perished. But he talked about how his grandfather lost an arm. The other gentleman that was staying there, he talked about his grandfather getting a piece of shrapnel from an artillery round in the head. And he ended up passing away after the war because of just the effects in which that piece of shrapnel they could get out from both physical and mental standpoint. So it's just an unbelievable place. And the gentleman who was in Verdun, he talked about how those towns, as TJ mentioned, were destroyed and were brought back. And also there was a local population there that was by the gas and only had 10 to 20% of their lung capacity for the rest of their life. So it is an area that still remains to this day touched by World War I, in a sense of communities that are no longer people in the area all remember. And what's interesting, even Google, you're driving through the fields, and the same actually goes for Normandy. There's just, I don't want to say random, but just there's a monument here, there's a cross there, there's something over here where something happened in history and it was documented and memorialized at that point. And I think that's one of the coolest things to experience and go see and pay respect and just learn about these things. Fortuitous adventuring, I guess I could call it. Stumble upon these things. And I would budget twice the amount of time, what you think you want to do there, times it by 2, not only in, but Normandy as well. I'll pause there. I'll state that I've gone to Germany. I stopped by Neustadt this morning, took a picture of where Jagdtiger 3-1 was captured. So I did some then and now shots. And then I also stopped at 2 Technik museums, the one in Speyer and the one in Schinsheim. Both awesome. The one in Speyer is mainly dedicated to space and a lot of aircraft. And they have fire engines and motors, where the one at Schinsheim is more military related. So they have an extensive collection. Everything from armored vehicles to Sachsen to literally anything the Germans deployed in World War II they have there. And then in addition, they have an extensive automobile collection, friggin' phenomenal, and aircraft. They have both the Tupolev 144 and the Concorde there that you can go in. So both supersonic airliner size. Bottom line, both museums are wonderful. One ticket will get you into both of them. I bought 2 tickets, one at each location. Didn't realize that, but that's okay. It's 21 euros to a worthy cause. But that's been my trip so far. Today I'm in Koblenz for the night, and then tomorrow I'm in Koblenz, then Luxembourg, and then spending my time in the Ardennes. And there is plenty of museums on the list still. So I've done a lot of talking. No one else has. So I'm lost. We'd probably go to a different subject, but appreciate the air. Lots more to come in terms of content, and especially from videos. I have a lot of stuff that I've recorded at these sites, hope to merge them together and really create a nice video at where I'm in. So with that, I will turn it back to Scott.
The Triple P is sponsored by Tankcraft, makers of highly realistic aftermarket 3D printed tank tracks in 1/35th scale. Tankcraft Pro Tracks, as real as it gets. These are not just copies of previously produced model kit parts. These designs are based on real 1-to-1 scale tank track links that Tankcraft has measured and photographed. These designs are then downsized to 1/35th scale, printed and test fitted on all the major 1/35th scale armor kits. Having used these tracks, we can honestly say that these are high quality, super detailed, easy to assemble, with fine layer lines that are practically invisible to the naked eye. Cleanup is minimal and usually not even needed. So go on over to tankcraft.com right now, that's TANKRAFT.com, and get yourself a set of Pro Tracks. While you're there, check out their other cool scale modeling stuff. Your bench will thank you. As a reminder, Posse fans can take 15% off their first order using the code POSSE15 at checkout. That's POSSE 15.
Well, thanks, JB. If we had a little bit of audio difficulties there, we apologize, but fantastic itinerary. I know John spent weeks before he went preparing, looking at maps, looking at reference photographs, doing online research. The content, the photos that he's sharing are just amazing. Those underground forts and, all the memorials, all the tanks, the museums. It's just fantastic. An armor modeler's dream as far as references, but also the historical, I guess what TJ called it was context. I think that's really, really good. It's been pretty amazing to see that. So again, keep an eye on our Plastic Posse group. If you're a Patreon member, we're putting a lot of content there, and you can see that. All right. Well, Grant, we'll turn some time over to you to talk about our Posse group.
All right, guys. So now we're going to do the highlights from the Posse group builds. So this year, everybody gives a heads up about a model they liked a lot. And in the webpage, Facebook page, we're going to start off with Jensen. What did you find?
So having a peruse through the page, I found Eric Brubaker's FJ build, the AK Interactive FJ. Just bloody lovely. He's recently just done some graphite effects with some 2B graphite, and it's just so well done. Because there's many times, and I'm guilty of doing it, is either using graphite or metal pigments a bit everywhere, and then it just turns the entire model really shiny. But the effect he's got actually genuinely looks like worn down metal that's actually catching the light. It's not like in your face like sheen. It's just at certain angles you can see the patina. Yeah, it just looks wonderful. He's doing really well with that build. I love seeing it come along, and these graphite effects he's really brought it to life.
Yeah, I can agree. The graphite, I saw those new pictures today, and they're just great. He's doing such a great job on that one. All right, Scott, what do you got?
Yeah, I just want to echo Jensen, what you're saying about Eric's FJ. I really like his paint work on that build too. I think he's really spending a lot of time, and it's funny, we just met him a couple of years ago. He's still working on that Tiger, which was his first big build, and he kind of reminds me of Martin Drayton. He just he's just improving and becoming excellent so quickly. It's pretty amazing. Well, I want to talk about another one of our friends. I have this kit, and Ilya Yut from Israel, he did one of those new mini art Chevrolet tow trucks with the dual wheels in the front and the back, and did it as kind of a what if, post-war what if, and it's freaking awesome. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but he's incorporated elements of an old gas station, and definitely the owner of the truck bringing some serious customization to it. And it's Ilya, so the weathering and the patina is off the charts. But anyway, it's an awesome subject, and Ilya has crushed it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. That thing is so cool looking. All right, TJ, what do you got?
I have Chris Whitfield's working on SAFS A8R8. Chris is a buddy of mine. He's a local guy. He's a member of our local AMPS chapter. He's a really good modeler. He recently did a Mark 44, and now he's staying in the Machine and Creative universe and going with the A8R8. It's a sweet little kit. I have one. It's built. And seeing his makes me want to work on mine. And he did a traditional hand paint lacquer scheme on it, which I don't have the cojones to try. So maybe I will, because he's pretty fearless to do it, I think. So I think that's very inspiring, because I'm afraid to do it. Yeah, it's cool. It's a sweet little build. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully he might be done with it by the time we have our next meeting. If not, I hope he brings it so I can see it in person.
That lacquer finish is beautiful. He's done a great job. Reminds me of Link stuff. JB, how about you over there?
Yeah, great question, Grant. The one that stuck out to me a lot was the AS5E3. I don't even know what that means, but it's a fighting suit, and it's the Assault Suit Linos kit. So it was built by Barrow. Good pod, but I just love the work he's doing on the fighting suit. Beautiful patina. It's kind of like an olive green. Awesome speckling, awesome rust effects. And the thing that sticks out to me the most is there's a number 5 on the chest plate, and it's worn down nicely. So keep up the work, Mike. Really appreciate you posting, and it looks absolutely fantastic. Wait until it comes together.
That's great. That's great. Rick, what about you?
Well, I stumbled across a fellow who I'm not familiar with, but I love his work. His name is Stuart Goodswin, and he's working on the Tacom ITP PSV90, which is a T-55A chassis, which is mounted on twin Orcolins. So it's an anti-aircraft weapon system. And he's got it finished off in finished markings here. And he's working on it for a group build with our friends at the Black Rifle Model Works. And this kit is absolutely gorgeous. It's wonderful colors. He's got some nice subtle shading. It's used, but it's not overused like it should be. It's a It's perfectly weathered. It's balanced so nicely. I saw this and I just, I coveted it. I wished it was mine for sure. So nice work by Stuart here. It's a beautiful build. You guys should all check it out.
Yeah, it really is, Rick. You nailed that one. And I'm going to do mine last. Wes Lentz is doing a Sheridan. It's been popping up on the page every once in a while. He's done some sandbag work on the front. He's doing some beautiful weathering on it. The OD green with the Vietnam red in the area mud is looking fantastic. Everything looks really, really good. The sandbags in front really caught my eye because he just didn't throw them on there. He put mud all around them, and the way it looks, and to me, it looks like a very used vehicle, which I think that this kind of vehicle in this era was very much used like this. He's just done a great job. The turret is another thing that's really impressive. The cargo that he's got on top of it, he's done a really fantastic squared away job. And keep it up, Wes. It looks really good. All right, I am going to pass it over to Jensen now to talk about some upcoming modeling shows.
Thank you, Grant. Indeed. So, first of all, coming up, we have the IPMS Nationals in San Marcos, Texas, August 2nd to the 5th. Is everyone excited? Yes. Cool.
I'm just looking at a lot of work.
Yes, exactly.
Cool. Then we have on Saturday, August 19th, 2023, it's the Best of the West show presented by IPMS Las Vegas and the Consortium of Modeling Clubs at the New Orleans Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada. I don't know why I do that at the end of every sentence. Then we have August 26th, 27th, Tank Farm show at Nokesville, Virginia, AmericansInWartime.org. And I'm pretty sure that's the show that Jackson gave a shout out to on the last episode.
Yes, and there will be a Novamps display table at that show. It's not really a show per se, it's an event with tanks, but our AMPS chapter will have a display there. I think the two other AMPS chapters in Virginia will also have a display there. So it's not a modeling event necessarily, but there will be modeling there. And there's sweet tanks that drive around. So yes, please come to that.
Amazing. Then we have Ventura County, IPMS and IPMS 101 Wonders present the first annual WonderCon held in Oxnard, California at Murphy Auto Museum from 9 a.m. till 4 p.m.
Can I talk about that real quick?
Please do.
It's a brand new group, guys. So it's a brand new group. It's been going on just a little bit. Joe Porcher is helped them start this group up about a year ago. It's their very first show. If you live in the Southern Cal area, come on out. Hey, be there. I'll be there. Joe and his guys from Vegas will be there. There's going to be a lot of people showing up, trying to give these guys some support. And so we're looking really forward to it and hope you can be there.
Then we have the Boys IPMS Fall Show, September 9th, 2023. Contact Brian Geiger at modeler63@yahoo.com to reserve a table or sponsor a category. Details at ipmsboys.org.fallshow.html. Then we have the Central Arkansas Scale Modelers 22nd Annual Show, September 29th till the 30th, 2023, at the Jacksonville Community Center, a few miles northeast of Little Rock. This one looks awesome. Seminars by Jim Rice, Rusnell, and Ken Childress. Then IPMS Orange Con Model Show, Buena Park, California, October 1st. I'm always proud of myself for getting that word right, no matter how many times I say it. Then PAX Con 2023, aka Geek Fest, Hollywood Volunteer Fire Department, Hollywood, Maryland, on October 7th. Got it right this time. This year's IPMS Vancouver Fall Show will be at the Bonser Recreation Complex, Burnaby, British Columbia, on Saturday, October 7th, 2023. Also on October 7th, we have Reno IPMS High Roller Show, 9 a.m. till 4 p.m. Detailed at renohighrollers.com. Then we have Scale Model Challenge in Eindhoven, October 14th, 15th. And I know about half of the Triple P, plus Jackson, Sam Dwyer, and many of our friends will be attending that show. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. Then we have MMSI Chicago Marriott in Schaumburg, October 20th and 21st. Then Scale Model World in Telford, Shropshire, United Kingdom, November 11th and 12th.
Well done. Very, very nice.
Yeah. Good read.
All right, let's move over to TJ and get a Mac group build update.
The Triple P Mat Group Build is sponsored by Bases by Bill. Bases by Bill specializes in making beautifully crafted wooden custom display solutions for scale models. Built by modelers for modelers, these premium quality display cases and innovative base designs are available for just about any model and size. Their custom size display bases ranging from 4 to 30 inches provide the perfect foundation for dioramas and vignettes. And remember, if you don't see what you need, just ask. Chances are they can customize the perfect solution for you. Check out basesbybill.com and see their new custom display products for busts and figures. Use the code Posse15 at checkout to apply a 15% listener discount to your order. Bases by Bill for all your model display needs. All right, let's keep this short and sweet. As far as the group build goes, you have about a month to get your stuff done and bring it to Nats. I think we have one more drop before Nats after this one, Scott. So while we're talking about that, how this works, if you were involved in the Sherman build from last year, it will be similar. So if you don't remember, then you can just listen to this. So the way this works is you will not put your Mac kit under your own name when you enter your models. If you're entering other models in the contest, what you will do is you will find one of us, preferably me, and we will make sure, or not preferably me, but one of us, and we will make sure that you get your model to the display section where the rest of the models will be displayed. You do not need an entry sheet for that model. It will go under one other entry sheet, probably filled out by me or one of us. I think last year it was under John's. It doesn't really matter. One of us, as the podcast, will have an entry sheet for that model. So you do not need your own one. You don't have to register it. It just comes to us and we'll put it with the display. Hopefully that makes sense. I think the Geeks want someone in one of their, because they're also doing a group build, someone in their group had asked the same thing for their entry, but that's how it works. So if you have other stuff you're entering into the show, do all the normal process with that, fill out the paper. It goes on your master form, but this entry will not go on your master form because it's a group entry. So couple people last year brought their paper over because they entered it in with their master form. You don't have to do that, so don't worry about it. Just find one of us, or if you see the display, just go put it next to everything and just say what to one of us. Hey, I added my model, and that's it. Super easy. That being said, looking forward to everyone bringing their stuff. Hopefully, we get a nice selection of models to look at and enter as a group. I know I'll have a couple in there myself. And I'm sure most of these guys will too. And as far as the actual group goes, not a whole lot's been going on. I guess it's not necessarily true. Some stuff's been going on. A lot of it we've kind of talked to before. I think Bill Huffman finally posted the final photos of his big, huge diorama with a geodesic dome and all this ridiculous nonsense. It looks pretty cool. I think Joel Munson is getting close to wrapping up his raccoon. Bruce Worrell is making some progress on his grocer hunt. Sorry, I had to look. I couldn't remember which one it was, but it is a grocer hunt. It's really cool. It's kind of like I don't really know, almost like a Dunkelgelb, but not really. It's much darker. He's got some pretty cool patina going on and some nice shipping effects. So I'm looking forward to that getting done and looking forward to seeing Bruce at Nats. So we'll keep it short and sweet for that. If I missed you, I'm sorry. Hopefully I can get you on the next one.
All right. Well, we're going to roll into some feedback. Obviously, Doug isn't with us, so this is going to take a group effort. In episode 72, we had our good friend Jackson Stanton came on, and he had a fantastic group discussion that he led on canon moments. And holy cow, the Posse just responded. We've never had feedback like this before. We're just going to hit. We want all of you out there to know we hear your feedback. We read it. We love it. We value it. There's no way we can get through all of this. So we're just all going to kind of hit a couple of highlights. But before we start, we wanted to take a moment as a group and kind of reach out to a very, very good friend of ours, Sean Earl. Sean, we love you. Hang in there. We're thinking about you, and we just know we're here for you if you need us. The following feedback has been modified from its original versions. We've kind of trimmed it, so I'm just going to get into this. So we've got our good friend Martin Drayton. He loved Jackson's suggestions on canon events. His was visiting the 2021 Las Vegas Nationals. He had ventured out as a new modeler, hoping to meet some fellow hobbyists in person for the first time. In the past, he had had some bad experiences. And then he came to Nats. He met the one, the only Steve Munsell, who is like one of the 10 greatest humans on the planet. Steve then introduced him to the crazy, happy, outgoing bunch at the table next door, which was us. So thank you, Martin. But anyway, that was his canon moment when he realized there were cool, inclusive, awesome, and talented individuals who love this hobby the way that he did. And he decided that we were his people, which is great. David Brian Bridges loved our last episode. He also loved the canon events topic. His canon event was he discovered armor models in 1995, and also his first model contest, and then his first IPMS nationals in 1999. He went with his best friends. He had a blast. The size of the show was overwhelming for him, but he loved seeing the models, exploring vendor rooms, and hanging out with his buddies. The common thread between these three canon events is the discovery of something new and also connecting with people that he really likes.
So from Aaron Cook, having just listened to the most recent Triple P podcast, I wanted to talk about my canon moment. I've never talked to other people or was in any way social at model shows. I went, looked, and left. But at the Cleveland show years ago, I saw a T-34 sitting at a vendor table and recognized it from the cover of a magazine. I forced myself to chat to the guy standing there, way outside of my comfort zone, by the way. And by sheer luck, it happened to be the friendliest guy in scale modeling, Mr. John Vernani. And because he knows everything in modeling, the rest is history. My modeling life was completely different from that point onward, and I gained countless friends who shared the same interests. As life is taking some unexpected turns for me now, these friends have been crucial, not only for my modeling connections, but also my personal emotional support.
Awesome. Also, I want to take a second here to make a quick announcement. We took all of the people that have given us feedback over the last few episodes and put all their names in a hat, and we are giving away a free ticket to attend Mr. Rick Lawler's seminars, which are sold out at Nats. And by happenstance, the name that we pulled out of the hat was Mr. Aaron Cook. So Aaron, you'll be attending the seminar put on by Rick. And we're also going to be at that seminar. It's going to be great, but congratulations, Aaron.
Oh, that's great to hear. And congratulations, Mr. AK Armor himself.
That's right.
The one and only.
The one and only.
Cody Kaczynski. My kind of moment included going to my first ever model show in 2007, the 2021 Nats in Vegas, and going to multiple shows throughout 2022. As for SIGs, I'm all for it. It shows the sharing of even more valuable information and exposure to awesome work and allows for the chance to improve. There is no wrong way to enjoy scale modeling. Craig Everson throws in a few of his. Buying his first airbrush, meeting Ray Davis, going to his first model show last year, meeting the On the Bench crew, and seeing all the great builds there. Oh yeah, and getting inspired by Martin Drayton with every single build he does.
Seriously.
I mean, Martin is very inspiring, so.
Seriously.
Okay, TJ, over to you.
All right, the voice of Bob, Mr. Bob Bear, chimes in and says that he liked our discussion about SIGs, or he had not connected the idea that SIGs would also be filled with subject matter experts. So that makes it more attractive. And his idea for a SIG was the the Sidewater diorama SIG, and he would nominate Mr. Mike Basquette from Plasma Mojo as the president of that SIG. Because if you have not listened to, I want to say it was 2-3. It was a recent episode, but Mike is not a fan of what he calls Sidewater.
It was multiple episodes.
Yeah. So I agree. I second that motion.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't know how Mike drinks out of clear glasses then. Are all of his glasses like solo cups?
Yeah, they're all solid, so you can't see looking in through them. That's funny, Mike. I laughed when you said that. Just I want to, because the funny part is, I guess not the funny part, but interestingly enough, you are not alone. A lot of people have said that they do not like that. Oh, there was someone else that was also took a firm stance against it recently. Was it you, Rick? I think it was you.
It is me, and I've been saying that for the longest time. And then guess what I just did on my Gundam diorama right now? I got Sidewater. Oh my gosh! It's I don't even know where to start on this. It's a funny story because originally I didn't on this diorama, but then I just needed to make my water feature more expansive, and now I have side water, and I'm just like cringing to the whole thing. So you'll see me cutting away in this next episode coming up, and I apologize. I feel like I've dropped off the wagon here and fell in a mud puddle or something. I don't know.
So the Sidewater Sig will be Mike Baskett, Rick Lawler, and the voice of Bob. It's already off to a great start.
Yeah. Except I'm sitting in the corner because I shamed myself already.
All right, moving on. A quick shout out to our buddy Chris McLean. He also started a SIG, and his is modeling Middle Earth. So that is modeling the fantasy realm created by Mr. J.R.R. Tolkien, which surprisingly there is a lot of stuff out there, both in the 3D printed world, especially the 3D printed world, and also there's a Games Workshop game, Warhammer. Sorry. I can't remember what they call it, Middle Earth Fantasy Battle or something like that. Yep. The miniatures are great. They're smaller than they're like true 25 millimeter scale, where Games Workshop like 40K and the Fantasy Age of Sigmar they call it like 28 millimeter, but it's really like 32 millimeter now because they've made everything larger. But yes, the Middle Earth figures are really tiny and they're awesome. There are some amazing sculpts. So yeah, if you We'll talk about SIG some more too, because IP messed it out in an interesting email. Maybe we'll touch on that later. If not, we'll catch it on the next episode. But anyways, moving on. Eric, we got some feedback from Eric. He's a 15-year-old modeler from Colorado. He's new to the hobby, not surprising because he's 15 years old, and almost gave up after a bad experience with a cheap kit. And but he hung in there, and after a trip to Oshkosh in 22, he got himself a better kit and was hooked. And he says that the Triple P and social media have fueled his hobby fires. He says the purpose of his feedback is to give us some appreciation for our willingness to work and talk with younger modelers. Yeah, I feel like that's really important. And the most important thing to do is not to patronize younger modelers. I've noticed that a lot when some older guys will talk to the younger modelers. They kind of come across as patronizing. And yeah, not a good look. I don't think it's intentional, but yeah, we'll move on from that. And he says, since my dad's a busy pilot, he hasn't been able to give very much time to scale models. However, he has to acknowledge our thoughtfulness in teaching children. And as I mentioned before, my generation and those beyond are the true future of scale modeling. It is my hope that experienced adults and organizations will evolve to try to bring in more kids in ways that will get them to want to build more. And he says, anyways, thanks to us and the other Posse members for their dedication to the community. And he says that the podcast has invigorated him and to continue modeling, and he may even switch from aircraft to other genres, which I highly recommend you do. There's nothing wrong with being a well-rounded modeler. All right. Stephen Reed wanted to respond to Jackson's shout out in episode 72. Jackson described by introducing him to the AMPS 2022 National Convention as his canon moment in his hobby experience. And he goes on to say that he's 57 years old and he grew up at the tail end of the era where, quote, paying your dues in most social situations was expected. And he says new people in the hobby should be welcome. And when I introduced Jackson around, I had no idea it would impact him the way it had. But being a part of that was just amazing. Hold the door open wide for new people if you want this hobby to outlive you as I do. This is the way. And Steve Reed is an awesome dude. I got to meet him at AmpsNest this year for the first time. And I agree 100% with everything that he says.
The next one's going to is from Marco Lips, who writes that he lost his mojo at the beginning of the year thanks to some health issues. He mentioned our focus on mental health, which he really appreciates. He knows others who face the same problem and is a good feeling to be able to talk with like-minded people and to support each other. He adds, last thing I want to mention has to do with the Scale Model Challenge, which a couple of you guys will be going to this year. This will be the second time I've attended the show. After the show on Saturday, I'm traveling to Nijmegen with a couple of buddies. They're going to visit the memorial at the bridge. The memorial is set up for 48 American soldiers who lost their lives trying to take the bridge during Operation Market Garden. Each day at sunset, a Dutch veteran will march across the bridge, accompanied by whoever wants to attend. During this march, 48 lights will be on, one for each fallen American soldier. I would like to extend invitation to the members of the posse that will be at the SMC to join in this trip. It would be awesome for you to, if you could. That is a really cool. Thank you, Marco. That is really cool. And, you know, the guy's going. I hope he can do that. It's such a nice honor that the Dutch people still do this for the American soldiers that fought there, you know, and it just all ties back to, you know, like John was talking about earlier. Derek Post wants to shout out to a hobby shop in Ames, Iowa. In fact, it's even called The Hobby Shop. The current owner, Mike Templeton, bought the shop in 2016 after he retired, and the previous owner of the shop wanted to retire. The shop has a great selection of paints, supplies, and plastic models of all types, model trains, rockets, etc. It is a great store owned by a great guy. Help spread the word.
We want to thank everybody for sending the feedback. I really, really appreciate it. Again, if we didn't have time to read yours, we apologize, but we read it. We really enjoy it. So thank you so much. And another reminder, are you a member of the Plastic Posse group on Facebook? If not, you should be, along with all the great builds that, you know, we talk about builds in every episode. Along with those that we talk about, we also even occasionally get how-to tutorials. If you look back to June 28th on our page, Spud Murphy gives us a simple step-by-step guide to creating random grime and stains on his Andes 1/16 scale Easy 8 Sherman. That's fantastic. You can also see content there from Rick Lawler, who's joining us, obviously, some propaganda updates and other things there. It's a great group. If you're not a member, join it. You'll really, really enjoy it. And then remember, you can send your feedback, complaints, suggestions, compliments to us via email at plasticpossepodcast@gmail.com. All right. Well, we're going to hand the microphone over to Grant. Hopefully we don't regret that, but we're going to give the microphone to Grant, and he's going to talk to our special guest, Mr. Rick Lawler.
Well, thanks, Scott. I really do appreciate the confidence. All right. I want to take some time first to thank Rick for joining us today. As a lot of you know, Rick is the owner, proprietor, and everything else of Propaganda Channel. There's a lot of great builds there, and I just want to say hi. Hey, Rick.
Hey, Grant. And yes, I'm already regretting that you have the microphone.
See, I tell you, no love at all. You guys suck. I tell you what. So a lot of you know, a lot of us, we did an FJ build earlier this year, and I'm going to put Rick on the spot because, you know, that's what we do. We wanted to know what Rick thought about the FJ builds that we did. So no pressure, you know, at all.
Oh. Well, my memory's foggy, but I do believe that every one of you made it through. Is that correct? Show of hands. Yep, we all made it through. Yep. So, and that's great. And then we had some ancillaries, like we just talked about Eric Brubaker, and he's working on his still. Yep. So a lot of people got swept up in the group build that you guys initiated and performed through. And there's a lot of FJs that are still going on because of the enthusiasm and the lead that you guys set. So that's great. In terms of what you guys specifically produced, I don't know what's the hyperbole I could put in here. Jaw dropping, breathtaking, things like that.
Crack smoker,
checks in the mail. Day after day, as you guys work through your projects, and some of you were quick and some of you took your time a little bit, but as you posted your work, what was amazing to me is just the first off of the variety. So, you know, we all started out with basically couple of different versions of the same kit, and then how you took it from that point on. So that's where you really get to see the individuality, the personality, the references you guys might have been looking at, your secret model that you've always wanted to do from some conflict. Now we finally have the perfect vehicle with which to demonstrate that on. So that was the first thing, is like, God, I wish I would have thought of that, you know, as I'm looking through my references and such, or I wish I would have found that photograph or had that idea. And then secondly, oh, look at this. I have pictures showing up in front of me right now. So we look at Scott is doing wonders behind the scene here. So I'm looking at John Bonani's right now, JB's. And
that's TJ's.
Oh, you're going to have to put some names on here as I go through here. So TJ, let's just start, as long as you're on air here. Tell me where you started, what your inspiration was, and your challenges and your your triumphs.
I was all prepared for that question. Well, actually, for mine, I was going to do one of the options in the that came with the kit, but I couldn't find a good way to do it. It was like a cream color with like the red. I couldn't decide if that was chipping or like Bondo, like spot putty. And so I just said F it and just painted it a kind of tan color. I looked up photos of actual FJ43s. I can't remember the name of the color that I liked. It's like Sahara Dune or some crap like that. So I mixed a color that was close to it. And just painted and then did some like improvised camo, kind of similar to the one that you did on your video, Rick. I think I used actually similar colors because I think yours was also like a black and reddish. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that base color is one of the stock colors that these came in, and so then that's why you get the camouflage basically over that sand color. I looked up the same Toyota references you probably did and trying to figure out what these base colors were. Yeah,
and like I purposely let the paint be splattery for the camo.
Yeah.
To give it kind of that improvised look. Yeah, it was and I just kind of just did whatever I wanted. It was really fun. I added the tire on the front and rusted the bumper out, so I was pretty happy with that. Now I'm looking at this photo. I see I missed a mold line on the exhaust pipe, so I might have to fix that.
No, it looks absolutely fantastic, and your improvised camo. Did you do much distressing on that afterwards? Like washing it back, or is that just from your airbrush? Yeah,
I chipped the base color down to like a steel color with hairspray, and then I also did put a couple coats of hairspray before I did the camo, and just in some areas where there'd be like where I guess it would have rubbed off.
Yeah.
It
looks absolutely fantastic. It looks absolutely fantastic. I mean, that's an example of one of the models that came through the Posse here. Here we go.
Oh, that one sucks. That one was terrible.
Yeah, this is the worst of the bunch.
Yeah, this what the hell? Green? When's the last time you saw a green zebra? What the hell?
Oh, and tape on the seat. That's real original.
I know, right?
No. So Jensen came up with this one. What's the nationality on this one? I can't remember.
Don't
you have the emblem on the front there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I can't remember. Either way, it's a stunning build.
No, it's Civil War, 80s.
80s, yeah. So once again, this is a perfect example of where the imagination, or even referencing other people's works. But you got the tape on the seat, which is a fantastic little touch. I liked when I saw those starting to happen. The weathering on this is absolutely superb. I just have to say the dust effects on the running boards and things like that is absolutely beautiful. The splashes up on the rear area there. It looks well used. It's dusty, but it's not overly beaten up. So it's a really nice balance. And the green zebra stripes the side. It's really, really attractive. Very attractive.
Thank you. Yeah, that was Lebanon. There we are. I couldn't think of it.
There we go.
I just could not think of it. I was like, yeah, Lebanon. There we are. Yeah, I wanted to make that one really dusty. It was nice. The camo all hand painted.
Really?
I didn't want to mask. I didn't want to mask it, so I just brush painted it all on. Yeah, it was a really fun little project.
It looks really smooth. What paints did you use?
AK FJ43.
Ah, nice.
Of course.
That was not solicited.
This is Scott, right?
Yeah, that's a Scott. I recognize this one. He came out a little bit at the tail end of the build here. He was, of course, busy editing all this chatter and stuff from morning till night, so he didn't have as much build time as some of you guys did. Absolutely a beautiful build, Scott. I love the camouflage colors on this one here. They're absolutely just fantastic. It's what more can I say? It's absolutely fantastic. And I start looking at details, even just right now at this front shot here, just the front grille, your turn signals and everything else. They're just so sharp and clean and crisp. Everything is just absolutely fantastic on this build. Plus, you added a little small base there, which takes it one level up. So you get that, 10 out of, or 10.5 out of 10 on this one.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Let's get the next one here. Where's JB?
Oh, look at my stupid face in that picture.
There we go. Let's go with Grant.
Yeah, another 10.5. Actually, almost close to 11 on this one, because your base on this one is absolutely fantastic. Which, I'm a sucker for bases. So if you add a little scenic base, I think that really enhances a model. So that's just me personally. But you did a really good job. The absolutely fantastic unification of your vehicle within the base really sets it off. Of course, you got this nice signage in the background, which sets the context and the theme for the project itself. The model itself is again, I'm sitting in a room here with, or a virtual room as it is, with just a bunch of world-class modelers. So there's not a lot to really pick apart. And so I don't want to feel like I'm just like throwing candy at you guys all the time as well. But there's really not a lot to say that's detrimental. There's not a lot to say that's other than bravo.
I think you're in a different wrong room because this is us. So
come on, boys. Come on, boys. I follow your work. I know what you guys are up to. John got done real quick, if I recall, right?
I don't think John made an album.
I was the last one. Yeah. I can shoot you one, Scott.
I can tell you who did like John's.
Yeah.
AK Interactive like John's.
AK loved John's.
Well, John, when did you get finished with the process? I thought you were before.
There it is.
There it is. Oh, the yellow one. Yep, that's right. Yeah, well, you came out with those seats.
Yeah.
And you hand painted those, if I recall. Is that correct?
Yeah, I will admit, I wasn't a fan of the decals, but I guess put that on user error. But I found painting them actually pretty airbrushed white, and then I came back and just painted with a paintbrush black.
Yeah, well,
it's turned out great.
You can see why everybody's kind of drawn to this one. You've got this vibrant yellow color, and then the weathering on it is absolutely fantastic. You got this wonderful recoilless rifle in the back, which you've done some absolutely stunning, eye-popping color on those as well. And then you've got these zebra striped seats in the appropriate colors of black and white, and it just looks fantastic, John. So kudos to you, and congratulations to all of the posse.
Yeah, that's the best yellow and rust I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the green bumper on the front of it. That something about that just makes it pop too. All right, so now that we put Rick on the spot, let's give Rick a little bit more chance to talk about what he's going to be teaching all of us and our special winner, Aaron Cook, at IPMS Nationals.
Well, I'm not going to be teaching you anything. So I've mentioned this before. So the workshops that I'll be hosting at the IPMS Nationals is going to be concerned with making dioramas or scenic bases. Like I just mentioned, I'm very much a fan of those, and I enjoy them very much. And I think they set your models off very nicely. Think of this in terms of, you could either go to a college lecture and I could present a bunch of things onto a whiteboard or a screen, and you could sit there and take notes. Or we could go to summer camp. We can get out there and get ourselves dirty and take a zip line down and splash in the water. So this is going to be more of the summer camp. We're going to splash in the water. So at these workshops, I will try to provide you with mostly everything you need to do in order to let your imagination run wild for about 4 hours, and in order to build whatever type of a scenic base you want. So AK Interactive is providing all types of materials for these workshops. So we'll have a whole wide range of AK terrains. So those acrylic pastes that I enjoy using, greens, some tufts, acrylic paints. I'm going to try to bring as many tools as I possibly can. And remind me, Grant, at the end, I'll make one more kind of suggestion too. If you can bring your own tools, say paintbrushes, your X-Acto knives, things like that, your personal tools in a small bag, maybe on your checked luggage, that would be helpful, because I can provide only so much. And so we'll be doing some sharing for sure. So if you have your own, please bring it. And I'll try to make a reminder for that later. I've also just this week cut up a whole bunch of little foam blocks. So we'll be packing those up. Those about 4x6. And I'll try to bring some other sizes as well. I'll bring things from my blue bowl of good stuff, just random stuff that I find in the yard and whatever. So there'll be just a mixture of things there. And then I will say, go. And you will just start building whatever it is you want to do. I'll bring some examples of some real quick things that I've done within 4 hours that you can kind of get some inspiration from. And then my role in this entire, event is simply going to be to cheerlead as much else, to coach. When perhaps you get to a point where you think I'm done, and I'm going to say, no, we could do a little bit more and push you in different directions, or have you tried this, or I have this material or technique that I think might be appropriate for you, just to kind of open up some new avenues and thought processes, and hopefully get you a little bit further along in your base and diorama building.
That's great. I'm really, really looking forward to it, because I'm a base guy myself. And, the idea of being able to sit there and let my imagination run, and then have someone of your caliber and be there to say, hey, yeah, try this, and then just learning off of everybody else who's going to be in the room with us that's going to be the fun part about it to me, is just you're making, it's a community, basically, that for that 4 hours, and you're enjoying what you're doing. And, I've got to say, really do appreciate you doing this. I really appreciate what AK is doing for us out there too. This is really great of them, and your support for all of this. I know that you sold them out both. The first show went out quick, so they added a second one. So that's great that they got some more time for you, and that's fantastic. I also want to throw out real quick, also, Rick. We're all big fans. Even the Gundam build is I did read a post a little while ago about some stuff, but I really do enjoy it, and it's really interesting and neat to see that people, you have a range that's fantastic. Especially for me, you go from all these different eras and these different types of models, which is, a topic we're going to talk about in a little bit. But it's also pretty interesting for me to see jump around. TJ does the same thing. JB does the same thing. When you have that opportunity to move around, it helps you as a person build better. And seeing you do it and your videos like that is inspiring to a lot of us. And we really do appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah. And just to clarify, there's actually three workshops.
Three. Sorry. That's my fault. Sorry. That's great.
Yeah. Not that it matters. Like I said, you guys know that they've sold out. So I really appreciate, for you guys that have joined and supporting these workshops, I really do appreciate that. The response was overwhelming. So thank you very much. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing and meeting some people here that I've only seen online or talked to through chats and such. Some of you folks I've met, of course, at various shows or whatever, but this will be a real opportunity to really spend some time together and get to know each other. And as you said, these workshops, that community within that day, but I think even over the course of the 3 days and the week is going to be great. These bases that we build or you build throughout your workshop, of course, they can be worked on in your hotel room or whatever afterwards. You'll take them with you, but it might be kind of fun. I'm just kind of thinking about this idea in my head right now, is that perhaps there might be a display table. Maybe it's at the PPP table or the AK table, that if someone feels so inclined, we just start dropping them off there, just so other people can see what other people have been working on together over the course of the 3 days.
Yeah, I think the guys here agree that's a great idea. And, if they'll let us, we'll do it.
Anyway, just a thought. I'm always thinking, ask Scott. He gets these IMs from me at 6 o'clock in the morning. And hey, I just had a thought. What if, to make your life easier or to make your life more difficult?
Well, thank you for the feedback on the builds, and we're looking forward to these seminars, Rick. I kind of wanted to maybe talk about what's next for AK Interactive and Propaganda and Triple P, this kind of partnership that we've been developing. And you and I have kind of hatched a plan. I think this was Jensen's idea, but we've kind of hatched a plan for post nationals. Maybe can you talk about the AK facades and kind of maybe what that's going to look like?
Okay, so I didn't realize this was your mind game, Jensen, but here we go. If you have been following any of the recent AK releases, I believe this came out perhaps in May, early June, something like that. They came out with these 2 box sets. They call them the facades. There's 2 different ones. One's they call it the English Hotel, and the other one is Charvin's. And what these are all-encompassing, all-inclusive box sets. So you get a resin piece, which is a facade of a building, and you get a collection of paints, paint brushes, very nice how-to manual on how to paint this out. And the idea here is similar to what we did with the FJ series a little earlier on, that we're going to recreate another group build here for the Plastic Posse, and then encourage, of course, all the Posse followers and anybody else to start doing this at the same time, and we'll have a nice group build sometime probably into summer-ish. I don't think we've decided on a date yet. Correct me if I'm wrong. I do have the facades here in front of me now. They arrived just last week for the Posse, so I'll be bringing those down to nationals and then distributing those. So you guys will take one of those home, and then whenever we decide to get started, there we go. Same idea as before. Post it on to the Posse, and it'll run for, I don't know, maybe a month or something like that.
And this time, are you going to join in and join us?
Yep. I had this sitting here, and I've been wanting to break one open. I got one of the very first ones when they first came out, and it's been sitting here, and I was busy at the time, and I almost broke it open. And then you and I started talking, And I thought, no, it's going to sit there on the shelf for a little while. So I do have one for myself here, and I will join in with you folks as well. I'm looking forward to it, because this is a type of a project. Grant mentioned me bouncing around for different subjects. I love doing these types of work, so I'm looking forward to this.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to seeing what everybody's take on it, was like with the FJs, everybody just did something so completely different from anybody else. And that was probably my favorite part of the whole thing. So
yeah,
anyway,
exactly.
All right, well, let's roll into our second discussion topic, because it's sort of rooted in everything we've been talking about here in the last few minutes. But if any of you out there have been watching Rick's propaganda channel on YouTube, and, obviously we talked about it a little bit earlier, but Rick's been engaged in a buddy build with Josh Scott up in Seattle, CobraPla, and Josh arm wrestled Rick or has compromising pictures of Rick. I don't know what it was, but anyway, Rick agreed to build a Zagok, which is a Gundam. And I know that's normally outside of Rick, your normal comfort zone of, sort of armor and diorama building, vignettes, things like that. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about, is building outside of your comfort zone. From my perspective, it's a little bit of a double-edged sword. I tend to be a little bit of a positive person. I think there's probably a lot of good things that can happen to help us grow, to go outside of your comfort zone and build other subjects. TJ's talked about that quite a bit. But I also think there's a little bit of a downside. I think it can really, in some cases, kill your mojo. I think we've all joined group builds in the past where our hearts maybe weren't completely into it. And times like that, it can be a little bit tough. But again, it can also be freeing and help facilitate learning new techniques or methods. And so I guess I'm just curious to get, more than anything, just everybody's perspective on this. And so, Rick, since you're kind of in the middle of this, I'm going to make you our first victim. But what is it about building this Gundam that maybe's had you recalibrate or try some, new things or whatever? I mean, what's your experience been?
Well, I'm going to first base this. Cody, in one of the comments that you guys mentioned just a little bit ago, he said, no wrong way to enjoy scale modeling. And I think that's one of the things that I try to take to heart. I enjoy scale modeling as a whole. Of course, I do more armor modeling than anything else because that's my preference. So working with this Gundam, yes, it's a subject that I'm not familiar with in terms of building. Let me back up slightly. So when I have free time and I'm zooming around the YouTube world and trying to look for things to catch my attention, I often look at other modeling video sites and things like that. I very rarely watch anything that has to do with armor modeling. I'm always looking at the Warhammer guys, the figure painter guys, the shipbuilder guys, and things like that. And that's where I get some ideas and inspiration. And the Gunpla guys. And so I've been watching those guys for quite a long time. And so when Josh kind of decided to kind of twist my arm, so to speak, in order to do this group build, I saw it as a really nice opportunity. This is a perfect excuse for me to try something that I've never worked with before. And the conversations that he and I had together, I mentioned a little earlier, was that we were going to try to learn from each other, but also express our own individual techniques and personalities through our builds. And so as I approach this, I will totally admit that I was somewhat hesitant in getting started because the Gunpla style of working on finishing and things like that is very different from the way I do armor building. And so there was quite a bit of apprehension there and hesitancy on my side because I felt like I was doing it wrong, so to speak. That has loosened up as I've gotten more and more into the project here. And so now it is becoming much more of a Rick type of a project here. Working something that's outside, but even if that said, working with something that's as fanciful, for lack of a better word, as a Gunpla is, really allows some creative expressions to come out too. So there's no right or wrong way of doing this, although the Gunpla people might say there is. And I'm making heresy by painting things certain colors. But the landscape, for instance, that I'm working on right now, I'm using colors on the rocks that I would never use because I want to tie things in with the Gunpla figure itself, make it a little bit more vibrant, a little bit more dynamic. I use the term in my video coming up, cartoonish. That's not the right word, but that atmosphere of just a little bit more bold and expressive. So that's been really, really encouraging. And I enjoy that now. And I'm actually having a very good time on this model. You mentioned about the mojo, about changing subjects and things like that. And if you lose that because maybe not going your way. Yeah, there was some of that. That's the apprehension that I'm talking about, where you just kind of feel lost and you're finding yourself for the first time. It kind of brings you back to being an earlier stage modeler, because you're doing something you're unfamiliar with. And so you're learning and walking the edge of that tightrope and hoping you're not making a fatal error along the way.
No, I think that's really good. And, what would you say maybe on the positive side? I mean, what's something that you'll take away from this build, whether it's your finish or the way you put the Gundam together? I mean, what do you think, something that maybe you've added to your toolkit, or is there anything that you've done as a result of this?
I think what I wish I would have done, that I've learned now that I'm further on in the process, and especially working with Josh, is that there is a level of painting precision that I am missing on this build, that he has executed on his build. And as he's weathering his up now, I think there's a very big difference in the way that ours are coming together. And I think it has a lot to do with that precision. He does a lot of masking and things like that, where I tend to just shoot the colors and move on. And that's just my technique versus his technique. But I think going forward, I will spend a lot more time in that pre-planning stage, because I know he did a lot of that pre-planning, and I tend to just open the box and slap them together as fast as I can and get his paint on them. And so I wish I would do that, and I will take that part of it forward with me. And I think that might be a subtle way to raise my game somewhat in the long run.
That's pretty interesting. I like that approach. TJ, I know you're going to have some thoughts on this. I mean, what's your perspective on this double-edged sort of working outside of your comfort zone?
Well, you are correct. I do have some thoughts on this. One of my goals, in not just necessarily this year, but in I guess my hobby modeling journey in general, is I don't want to have a comfort zone, if that makes sense. I think I've mentioned before, I want someone to be able to hand me a model, a box, and I can open it and not be intimidated by anything in that box, right? Like I look at it as like being a complete modeler. Now, obviously, I will probably always prefer one thing over another, machining Krieger. I know I've mentioned multiple times, that's kind of like my safe space, where if I don't know what I'm doing, or I'm having a hard time, like with the Churchill, I got to a certain stage and I don't know what to do. I know what to do, but then I don't know what to do. I can pick up a machining Krieger kit and know exactly what to do every single time, because I've been pleased with every single one I've ever done. That's my comfort zone. Yeah. So I like I said, I don't really want to have necessarily a comfort zone. Like, that's why I started doing aircraft, because aircraft was out of my comfort zone. Now I don't really care. I've built one, I'm building another one. I've got like 3 other ones to build. It's just a model. Yeah. Can I answer your question? I don't know if it really does or not, but
yeah, no, I think, your approach and the fact that, like you said, you don't want to have a comfort zone. I think that's an area where jumping from genre to genre or subject to subject makes you stronger. If you're not intimidated by something, you're going to have a good time, and you're going to be a lot more willing to dive into whatever catches your eye. And, you've talked, we've all talked, but especially you, about being scale agnostic or subject agnostic. If it looks cool, why not? If it's a 72nd scale tank instead of a 35th scale tank, or even an aircraft, then just dive into it.
I'm glad you said that, because I was just getting ready to touch on that. Yeah, I believe in being scale agnostic. If you like it, you should build it. I don't typically care what most people say on the internet as far as models go, because it's toys. But one of the one things that does annoy me, and not to the, like, I'm not going to argue with someone over it, because that's a waste of time and a fool's errand. But like when people are like, that's the wrong scale when a new kit gets announced, that annoys me personally. Like, I'm not going to go after the guy, because I have better things to do than pick fights about toys on the internet. But like, it's not the wrong scale. You're not into it, and that's okay. Like, just okay, cool, man. But if you're interested in it, freaking build it. Like I just don't care. Like the Cooster I'm working on, it's technically the wrong scale, I guess, right? Like, I like 120 to scale machining Krieger stuff. That's what I like. I like the 120 suits. I like the 120 larger vehicles. They're cool. The 135th scale, it is what it is. It's small, like, it's tiny. So kind of, to me, for like Mac stuff goes, this is the wrong scale. But you know what? It's freaking cool. Like the Kuster's a cool subject, so I'm gonna get it. And I have a big one, so if I want to go build a big one, I'll go build the big one. But yeah, I don't know. I've never understood like constant scale, like modeling. It just doesn't make any sense. Especially when now, because there's so much good stuff, and like the 72nd scale Lightning, that F-35 Lightning that Tammy has sent us, that I haven't built it yet, but I can already tell you that thing is going to be freaking sweet. And I don't prefer 72nd scale aircraft. I've built one before and I have other ones, but I don't know. Yeah. Sorry to go off on a little bit of a tangent there.
No,
it's your fault.
It is my fault. I asked the question. So, JB, you've been quiet for a bit. I mean, what are your kind of thoughts on this double-edged sword? Go outside the comfort zone, or is it kind of more of a mojo killer for you? What do you think?
Yeah, I'll just echo TJ. I think the way I do the hobby is probably very similar to his. If I like it, I'm going to build it. Yes, I have my preferred scales, obviously 35th and armor, but if something cool comes out in 48th, M8, howitzer is a good example, I'm going to build it. If something comes out in sci-fi, Machining Krieger, TJ mentioned the Kuster in 35th scale, I'm going to buy it. Actually, I think I am splitting it with Steve Baker. So I'm along the lines of, if I like it, I'm going to build it. I'm going to buy it. And if I don't even build it, I'm still going to have it on the shelf. So if you look at my cabinet, yes, a majority of my projects tend to go 35th scale armor, but there's 72nd, there's 48th, and now 16th is sprinkled in. Not only from a scale perspective, from a finish perspective as well. You can look at the Nash one I built for the 48-hour build. Very clean, very straightforward. And then the FJ is really delving down into layers and rusting and weathering effects. So it's the entire gambit in all aspects of the hobby with me. That even includes reference material for subjects that I'm not even interested. Well, I'm interested because I'm buying the book, but it doesn't fit my library's theme. That's okay. I still like it. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to, read it. And yeah, I tend to think my hobby is not bounded by subject, but probably my bank account. So that's where I'll leave that.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite builds of yours is your Federation tank that you did, the 147th scale. Just really, really like it. It speaks to me, and I guess technically it's a air quote tank. I'm doing air quote things here, but yet it's a science fiction subject, and so outside of that wheelhouse at least a little bit.
Yeah, I'd even go further, Scott. It's okay. I think it checks all the boxes. It's, for me, a traditional armor modeler. It's sci-fi. It's 147th scale. It's technically a wargaming piece, so it's not even a scale model in that regard. For some purists, where I don't see like bolt action, that's a model kit. I mean, you're putting these things together, you're painting them. Those are model kits. Warhammer is a great example of a model kit. So it's outside of all the things that I'm typically used to, and even the painting for that matter, and the silver pencil prisma chipping and all that, just a really fun project. And that's what I enjoy.
Grant, I'm interested in your perspective on this. So mojo killer or good for your skills?
Yeah, it's definitely not a mojo killer for me. I've jumped around. It's, I've got everything. I look into my cabinet. I've got 148th. I've got 1/350th scale submarine. I for the longest time, I only built 1/35th scale tanks. That's all I did. And then someone, I think Andy, to tell you the truth, built the 148 scale to my M1 Abrams, the 148 scale kit. And I kind of opened up my eyes a little bit more to 148. So I tried that. Oh, sorry, it wasn't the Abrams. It was the SS100 truck. So I built that. But then I've kind of jumped, seeing some of TJ's work and a lot of people on the internet, a lot of builders on the internet, the Warhammer stuff. For some reason, it drew me really fast. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the colors. Maybe it's whatever it is. I seem to be drawn to that. But it definitely was never a killer for me. There's been a lot of relearning, I guess you would say. understanding different processes, like Rick talked about, and JB talked about. I think the reason I don't see it as a killer is because I'm learning again. You're going back to that, that level way before. So you're kind of relearning a whole new process, really relearning a whole new way to do something. So I don't see it as a mojo killer. It's what you make of it. The question to me is, do you like it? Build it. Is this 1/72nd, 1/48th, 1/16th, 56 millimeter? Whatever it is, if you like it, build it. It's not going to hurt. And in my opinion, it's not going to hurt. You see fantastic, look at all the icons of this hobby that have, that are, some are not here anymore, some are still here, but they never stayed in the same scale. They jumped all over the place. Shep Payne built fantastic aircraft. He made fantastic tanks. He did unbelievable figures. Verlinden, look what he did, and it just, don't get sidewalled, have fun, jump out of the comfort zone a little bit. You will be surprised. You will be happy. It might take a little bit of time, but it's worth it.
Jensen, what's your perspective?
So to be able to, just really like the noise I made. To be
nice little moan there. You all right over there, buddy?
Are you having some Costco pizza?
So to be ever so slightly contrarian. Yeah, I build what I like. There's a reason I don't build certain things. It's because I don't like them. I have a comfort zone for a reason. I like what I like. So I like my aircraft. I like my armor. I like painting figures. I like ships. I don't build them a lot mainly because of how much room they take up. And usually if I'm doing a ship, I want to do like all the PE for it, the railings. I want to go to town on it. I like what I like. I have a comfort zone. The reason I don't build the subjects that are out there, like Gundam, I don't do Mac all that often, is because it's not that I don't like them. They don't give me the enthusiasm or drive to really want to push on. I mean, at the minute, I'm struggling to build stuff I really like. So I don't want to try and burden myself trying to force the enjoyment of building something I don't. Scales, a bit like, I'm going to echo what most people have said. I don't care if I like the subject. Doesn't matter if it's 72nd or 32nd or 35th or 48th or 24th. If I like it, I like it. I'm going to build it. I don't care about the scale. I care more about the quality. So if it's an incredibly good quality kit, let's say a Tamiya, and it is released in 72nd, then I'll still buy it because it's going to be the subject I like, done by a manufacturer I like, and I know it's not going to be an issue. But then there's also more obscure subjects like the Special Hobby Whirlwind, which I know, Scott, you were really excited about when that came out. I know that's going to be a pain in the arse of a kit, but I love the subject and I know it's got like rivets and it's going to be detailed. So I'm more than willing to take that challenge because I know what the outcome's going to be. It was the same with the Tempest. It's one of those, if I like the subject, I'm willing to take on the task or the burden of if the kit's bad or not. But really, when it comes to comfort zones and building stuff that's out of that, sorry to repeat myself, I like what I like and I know what I like. So I'm not going to try and force myself to do something I know really I'm not going to enjoy.
So I get that. I mean, the Tomcat commission builds is a great example, but I almost kind of want to dive into, I mean, one of your best pieces you've done, I think most of us would agree, is a Maschinen Krieger subject. And I know you just said that's not really my thing, but yet that build is probably, I mean, in the group here, at least one of our favorite pieces that you've ever done.
Thank you.
So, I mean, are you, having said that, I mean, are you open to going out of that? I like what I like, if it's going to mean growth, or was it a happy accident?
So that was one of those, I found a way to make myself enjoy that by trying to incorporate it into the Fallout universe, something I absolutely love. So if I can try and get a subject, so I tried to do this before. I had a Zaku 2, a Gundam, which, not for me. But because they look ever so slightly First World War Germanic, I built it and painted it in a way I was like, I can kind of make this look like a First World War what-if German assault suit. So if I don't like the subject, I won't do it as quote-unquote intended. I'll turn it into a way I can enjoy it and find enjoyment out of it. So yeah, I'm open to stuff, but I'll still put my own twist on it to make sure I enjoy it. And it was the same with the Mac. I made it into a Fallout suit, made it all yellow, made it really rusty, put it on a little vignette. It's like, you see it, it doesn't really look Mac, but I found a way to make it fun for me.
Oh, if I could just jump in here real quick. Grant, when he was talking, kind of reminded me of this. So, of course, I'm primarily an armor builder and such. And I don't know what you guys do with all your models when you're finished with them and such, but mine are basically just all. Yeah, I have very little emotional attachment to anything I've done. Mm-hmm. So they're all just kind of stuck away someplace and I never see them again. I have one model in a public space in my house it's in the living room on a shelf. And you know what that happens to be? The Trudy's junkyard, the Warhammer little diorama scene. That's the only one that I care to look at over and over and over again. And I don't know if it's because it's a different subject. First time I've ever worked with Warhammer. It's colorful. It's dynamic. It's got these little guys running around. And, you know, that's the beauty of going outside of my normal, is that that's the one that's actually on public display.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's. I was thinking about that one too, because I like what you did. Is, you know, one of the things you did there. There's so much color in the detail, and I like the part you use, like the T55 parts in there from the 148. I think it was 148 scale T55, but you use a whole bunch of different parts from other things in there, and that's one of the things I like about that is you can. And it's why I like Star Wars too, is because I look at their aircraft and stuff, or their ships and stuff. And, you know, the Millennium Falcon's perfect for it, or Death Star. Is you look at it closely and you can see, oh, there's a 172nd Panther wheel, or there's a Sherman suspension mount there, or there's a, you know, a F-104 Starfighter, whatever you know. And I like that kind of stuff, and it draws my attention. And, you know, that's one of those things. One of your builds that I really, really enjoy.
Yeah, I was definitely influenced by the. What was the name of the studio? The Star Wars Creation Studio. And the way that they put, how they put together Millennium Falcon and things like that. That was on my mind as I was putting together Trudy's junkyard. Just you know, out of my junk box and trying to just add bits and pieces.
Yeah. What were we gonna say, Scott?
Just wondering. I mean, just going outside of your comfort zone. I look back at your George Washington bust. Did that open a door for you? I mean, you know, it seems like, when you were working on that and when you completed it, that more you became kind of more and more into those and did more and more projects, or was that just kind of a coincidence?
I mean, I guess, because like I said before, like I started as a miniature painter, which I feel like a lot of people, hopefully they understand now, but I know I've talked to a lot of people that maybe didn't know that about me, which is fine. It's not like, I mean, I'm not a freaking celebrity or anything. I mean, you know, I've kept my hobby to myself for a long time. So I wouldn't expect a lot of people to know that, but some people seem surprised that that's what I started as, but kind of like yes and no. Cause I mean, I had done literally hundreds of figures before I painted George Washington. That was the first large scale figure that, I mean, it was a bust. So I guess, you know, large scale figure that I had ever painted. So yeah, I would say it opened a door, because it made me realize that it's not that hard. And I mean, you might roll your eyes at that, but unless you like try it. And I think most people that have tried it have been like, oh, it's really not that hard. I mean, yeah, obviously you're not going to paint the best figure that's ever existed ever, but like, I think a lot of people think that they can't do it. And I don't know why, because I've told people this that are better modelers than me that are like, oh, I can't do that. I'm like, why? Like, you're a good modeler. Like it's the same stuff. It's sure some of it's a little bit different, but like it doesn't really have to be. It's not black magic. But yeah, I mean, yes, I would say that kind of did open a door, mainly because it made me realize that it's not that hard to get a good result, and it kind of you once you do something once, you know, you get better. I guess you kind of get better at it, obviously, but like it breaks down like that mental barrier, right? Like when your kids learning to ride a bike and they're all wobbly and they fall a couple of times, but then once they get going and they know that they can do it, then it's like that thing in their head clicks, like, oh, I can do this, right? Okay, got it. That's like for everything, you know, and like you experience it at work. Like I remember when I was an apprentice, I was learning new things in my trade, and I'm like, oh, watch a guy do it. I'm like, man, that looks really hard. I don't know if I can do that. Like welding, right? Like when I watch welders, you know, with my hood on, I did watch welders without a hood. just in case anyone was wondering, watching them do it, and you're like, man, that looks really hard. And then you kind of try, and like the rod's sticking to the metal, and it's not, that's why they call it stick welding, and all that stuff. And then once that thing clicks, and you can form your puddle, and you can lay a bead, even if you're not doing anything, you're just on a piece of flat plate, you're learning. Once that clicks in your head, you're like, got it. And then from there, you can pick up a stinger and strike an arc and go, right? Like, I don't weld, but I could pick up a stinger and strike an arc, and I could stick something together if I had to, right? And it's that same thing with modeling and painting a large scale figure. Like, I'd painted smaller figures for them, like, yeah, they're okay. Like, I could probably do better. I'm scared to do this like big thing. And I know when I think I painted that, I painted it like once. I'm like, oh, I don't really like it. And I kind of like repainted it again. And then all of a sudden, boom, it like clicked. I'm like, okay, now I know what to do. And then I can take that and just like snowball and hopefully get better. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think it makes perfect sense. I mean, Rick mentioned Josh's approach to painting being different than his. And, it almost sounds like the next Gundam that he does is gonna try a new lane, try a new way of doing it, and that kind of, I think, goes in line with what you're saying. Something is clicked, and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna do something different next time.
Yeah, and kind of that point, and kind of going back to like what you said, Rick, you're like, oh, I'm doing it my way. Maybe the Gundam guys think this is heresy. Like, who cares, right? Like, I am a firm believer there is no right way to do things, right? Like, I paint my stuff my way, and like my machining Krieger is a good case in this. I don't paint the way, right? Like I mentioned with like my buddy Chris, and he's doing the hand brushed lacquers and the stuff that Link does. I don't do that, partly because I'm not confident I could, even though I probably could, but to me that's like a high risk, high reward thing. Like, I think it's easy to screw up. And I like doing it my way, but also I have my way of doing like my machining Krieger. It's not the quote unquote right way, but there's no right way of machining Krieger. It's not the traditional way, and that's okay. And I'm proud of that. Like, I feel like my machining Krieger looks like my machining Krieger. I don't think I have a style when it comes to anything else but machining Krieger. I think that most of my friends, if I didn't show them something like that I painted that was Mac, and I was like, what do you think about this? And it was mine, they could probably pick that out. My tanks don't care. But yeah, I don't care about what the right way to do things is. It's your way. That your way is the right way. Doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one, TJ. Perhaps I didn't express myself exactly, pin me to the wall. I think when you see this when it gets done, you'll say, oh, you'll recognize my style throughout. It's not that I'm changing my style per se. And actually, I didn't want to change my style because over the course of my modeling lifetime, that's been one of the goals, is to do it your way and come up with, look on a table, you can say, well, that must be one of Rick's because I recognize that style. I think that's kind of the ultimate achievement as modelers here, is that we can kind of come up with our own signature, so to speak. I think how the Gundam guys do it compared to how I do it had to do as much with just even the assembly. This is a pressure fit assembly. I'm not used to doing that kind of stuff. Pulling it apart, taking it apart, putting it back together as part of the construction process. That's part of that learning curve that I was very unfamiliar with and had no idea that was integral into kind of how these get built in the first place. And then that kind of, I don't know, like I said, messed up with my mindset in terms of, oh, maybe I should be doing it this way because these are all parts of the process that this type of a model should follow. No different than if you're doing an aircraft and say you have to come up with canopies or things like that. There are certain things that you need to do that if you're not familiar with it, kind of throw you off.
No, I get what you're saying. I wasn't specifically
calling
you out, Rick. I've heard that a lot from especially on the internet, like, oh, I'm not doing it the right way or whatever. And it's like, there is no such thing as a right way. It's only your way.
No, that, like I said, I don't think I expressed myself exactly correctly there, but I appreciate it.
Denson, JB, did you guys have anything you wanted to add?
I'm good.
I'm good.
Grant?
We want to talk about a mother with style, JB.
Yeah.
I could pick a JB build. I could pick a JB build blindfolded. Like that's John's.
What's sad is I try to push my style away from what I think my style is.
Yeah, but your style's good.
I do want to try the way. I think the stippling. Who is it? He's on Facebook a lot. He does, but he uses acrylics, I believe. I really like his work.
Talk about Alexander.
Yeah.
On Instagram.
Alexander Duchamp. Yeah.
He's got a fantastic style. Yeah, he does really good work.
He takes and takes it to that level where I want it to be. Because I'll be honest, I actually think some of that style is unrefined, and I think Alexander Duchamp. Yeah, I think Duchamp's style for my style of scale modeling, and I've seen his work in person. I saw his Pat Croat, which it was amazing at Telford, and it had like this purplish sheen on it, almost like a purpley sheen. I'm like, how did this mofo do this? Because he did it with like the stippling technique. And I know he has some videos online that he showed. And I think there might be some pay for play kind of work too from him.
PDFs.
Yeah, he's got PDFs. Yeah.
I have them. They're awesome. They're like $2. They're worth every penny.
Right? Yeah. That's the next inflection point in style, is to try that out.
You're not going to really ruffle any feathers with that. I mean, Ko himself would tell you. I mean, he's not a modeler, not like a modeler. Like he's built models. Clearly,
he
was inspired by models, but like he's not. He's an artist. That's what he does. And the style is purposely unrefined. That's part of the reason why I'm not the biggest fan of it. Not that I dislike it, because I also would like to try it. I just got to find a kit that I'm willing to just potentially not be happy with.
Right.
And that's hard because I don't have duplicates of a lot of the suits. I don't want to ruin, some of them are hard to come by.
Yeah.
I paid good money for a handful of them. So.
All right. Well, appreciate everybody's perspective on that. I'm just going to say to wrap things up, give it a try, go outside your comfort zone. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? Pick up a Gundam kit at your local Hobby Lobby or whatever and give it a try, or grab a mule and, just do something and see what happens. You might end up enjoying it. Anyway, appreciate that, and appreciate everybody's perspective.
Grab your maracas and join the parade. We have merch. If you would like to rep the posse, you can check out our awesome merch on the Triple P Spring page. You can find coffee mugs, t-shirts, jumpers, or even some of our world-famous Triple P lounge trousers. You can order all your stylish Triple P merch on the web at https://plastic-posse-podcast.creator-spring.com/. Grab your Triple P merch now.
Alrighty, everyone. Thanks for riding along with us here on episode 73 of the Plastic Posse podcast. Your support, along with our great sponsors and patrons, helps us bring you the Triple P every 2 weeks. Got a gripe? Maybe a suggestion? You can send your feedback to plasticpossepodcast@gmail.com. If you haven't yet joined the Plastic Posse group on Facebook page, please do. It's pretty awesome. See y'all in 2 weeks, and yeehaw! Boom, nailed it.
Nice. Crushed it. If you would like to support the Triple P and become a Plastic Posse Outrider, it's super easy. Just go on over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/Plastic Posse Podcast, and you can set up a recurring donation there. These contributions help offset the cost of bringing you the Triple P. There are 3 different tiers of support, and these tiers start at just $1 a month. You get early access to our podcast. You get premium access to our hosts and the chance to appear on a podcast, and really cool exclusive Triple P content like JB's recent trip to Normandy and a lot of Patreon only content. So let's recognize our amazing deputy marshals. These guys ride the range every month, and they do a great job. We've got Brian Kreiner, Ken Childress, Nick Butta, Drew Gardner, Scott Hall, Tim Hulme, Frank Perrone, Dennis Tennant, the voice of Bob, Jeremy Diamond, Ryan Smith, Terry Wilkinson, Chris Lovewell, Andrew Callis, Ethan Eidenmill, Bruce, the model noob, Steve Baker, Eric DeGleesh, Joe Porche, Graham Pearson, Patrick Brown, Steve Schaefer, Jay Kidd, Brandon Gentry, Robert Klein, Mark Ewing, Ted Kawahara, Toadman, Model Doc, Doug Reed, Greg James, Les Workala, B Colt 1911, John Everett, Josh Buck, Black Rifle Model Works, Thomas Bannock, Mark Bradley, Zach Pease, Joel Munson, Eric Brubaker, Jeremy Moore, DB Scale Model Studio, Matt Johnston, Jeremy Elliott, Mike Talley, Previous Seat, Mediocre Middle-Aged Modeler, Dan the Man Nofel, and JC Osborne.
Let's also recognize our excellent posse foremen, including our newest members, Tom B., Alex Week, and Jeff Feller. These foremen are outriders who give the deputy marshals a hand around the ranch. We have Eddie, Ross, George, Gary, Woroff Models, Drew, Ross, Eric, Len, Cliff, Eric again, Mike, Benjamin, Craig, Papa Steve, Logan, Red Beach One Studios, MD Models, JV, Damian, Kieran, Cody, Tim, Nuke Man Mike, Greg, JK, Ash, Irish Pat, Paul, What's the Deal with Eyebones Models, Mr. Grizz, Jackson, Mac Armor, Chris, Lee, and Jamie.
And of course, our Posse Outriders. We appreciate all of you, including Roger Newman from Down Under. Welcome, Roger. Please consider posting a review of the Triple P on the podcast platform you use. Each 5-star review helps other modelers find the Plastic Posse. What did Jensen say at the beginning of that last part he did?
When we were maracas enjoying the parade.
That's the maracas. What's
by the time this comes out, I will have seen Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny because I'm going tomorrow afternoon, and I'm actually very excited.
Heard nothing but good news.
I mean, it's got mixed reviews, which I don't really care. The Rotten Tomatoes is like in the upper 50s, like to 60s, I think, fresh. So more good reviews than bad, but the audience score is like in the upper 70s, maybe like low 80s. So people that have going to see it seem to be enjoying it.
Yep.
Look, I don't really care. I freaking love. I know we've talked about it a million times. I love Indiana Jones. And sorry, Doug, but you know, the Crystal Skull, it's not as bad as people like to think it is. Now, I would never willingly choose that one out of the 4 movies to watch. If they were all in front of me, I would be like, yeah, you know what? Let's watch Crystal Skull. That being said, I would not watch it if I was at someone's house or it was on TV. Like, there's some parts that are really dumb. Shia LaBeouf's character can't stand. And it's not because Shia LaBeouf's annoying, because he is. I just don't like that character. It has nothing against him as a person or an actor. I just think his character is superfluous. Don't think the movie needs it. Whatever. But like the Indiana Jones stuff in that movie, it's freaking great.
I'll watch it way before the second one.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So I watched a movie I've wanted to watch for years and was underwhelmed significantly. Ocean's 11.
Oh,
you've never seen Ocean's 11?
I've never seen it, and it was meh.
I feel like that's meh. That maybe because you missed that train.
Yeah, maybe.
Right. I feel like that movie might be a little bit dated now.
Yeah,
because I mean it's pretty old, right?
Yeah. Did you see the original?
The original with like the Rat Pack.
That was good.
That's
the
the best
original.
one.
I have not. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
That's the one you got to go see.
That's Dean Martin's in it.
Yeah.
And
Frank Sinatra's in it. Everyone's in it.
Guys.
Yeah, maybe I'll have to check that one out. I mean, I liked the Italian Job. The original was fantastic. The remake was really pretty good.
Yeah.
And it wasn't terrible. It just was kind of meh,
Oh, the original Ocean's 11 though. I didn't know about that, to tell you the truth, until I watched the Brad Pitt one. Yeah. And then someone told me, "Hey, go watch this." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this." Yeah.
I really like the Brad Pitt one.
It's really good. Recently, we've been going through horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
So we started off with the original Evil Dead from the 80s.
Yeah.
Which, just watching it now, it's like there's nothing scary about this. The people are made of plasticine at the end.
Yeah.
We've watched Conjuring 1, Conjuring 2, and then last night we watched Evil Dead Rise, like the new one.
How is that one?
I was impressed. Because at first you're like, if it's too scary, I'll turn it off. It's like, come on, I'm not that bad. It's only because I described one scene from a movie, Mirrors. I don't know if you've seen it. That's a horrible movie. There's a gory scene in that, I declare. But yeah, the new Evil Dead Rise, really good. I was very impressed. I would recommend it. It was very good. Next, we've got the Insidious movies.
Evil Dead 2 and the Army of Darkness. I love those. I've seen them.
Scott, you took the words out of my mouth.
I mean, Bruce Campbell is so good in those two.
The best Army of Darkness movie the best Evil Dead movie is the Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolute best. One of my favorite movies of all time.
Yep.
Freaking love that movie.
Shop Smart.
Shop Best Smart.
Yeah.
I was Ash from that movie for Halloween like 10 or 12 years ago. I don't know why. My wife was like, "We need to go to this Halloween party." I'm like, "Whatever." Which I love Halloween, but I don't like parties. I'm not a party guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, "All right, fine." So she's like, "You should wear a costume." I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "What should I be?" I was like, "Oh, I'll be Ash." And nice. I have a picture of it. It was pretty good costume. I mean, for like throwing it together for like in a week, I was pretty happy with it because Ash is the best, and especially Army of Darkness Ash.
Yeah, honey, you got real ugly.
God, I love that movie. I have the theatrical poster, like a big version of it. It was down in my basement, my old basement. It's all rolled up now because I think I have a poster from Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness because I love all three movies. But I mean, Evil Dead 2 is great.
Yeah.
So my son is huge into Transformers. Just loved them as kids and still loves them. So I took him. He needed a break. He's been kind of trapped at home with a sick kid lately, and so I took him to see the new Transformers movie. It's not really my thing, but I actually thought it was pretty decent. It's certainly not classic cinema, but I enjoyed it. It's sort of a new characters and new stories, but I thought it was pretty good. I mean, for what it was.
I'm not a Transformer guy. I kind of missed that boat as a kid.
Yeah.
That G.I. Joe's, I wasn't into either one of those things.
Yeah.
I was the right age for them. But for whatever reason, Ninja Turtles, that was my shit.
See, I miss that boat, but I want to see that new one so bad. I love the style of we saw the trailer again last night. I'm going to go see it. I'm really excited about it. And I've never been a Turtles guy.
Now I know we have to talk about this because the new trailer just came out, and I know you know exactly what I'm going to say. But holy shit, does Dune Part 2 look to be like the raddest thing ever?
Oh my gosh, so epic! I watched that trailer like 7 times yesterday.
Like the first trailer was cool. This one was just so much better. Oh my god, I can't wait. Oh god, I can't wait. When he says "Long live the fighters," in what's their language? Whatever the Fremen language is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh god, it was so awesome.
Yeah.
Go ahead, say something, Jensen. I got something shitty to say. Go on.
How did you know?
Because I know you, buddy.
As I say, I'd rather watch Barbie.
Barbie's gonna be great too. I can't wait for that movie. That movie looks awesome.
Exactly.
It's not even that. I mean, Margot Robbie's an absolute smoke show, but like that movie, I don't know. Like, I mean, Greta Gerwig's like an amazing director. So
I'm not a fan of Ken, the actor who plays Ken.
What? Ryan Gosling?
There we are. I'm not a fan of him. Yeah.
First of all, Ryan Gosling is a dreamboat. Let's just.
He's not.
I can't.
Not my type.
No, Ryan Gosling is he's the type of guy that like women want and men want to be him. Ryan Gosling is amazing. He hasn't been in a bad movie. It's just no. Dude, okay, first of all, First Man, amazing that movie. I don't care what anyone says. That movie is awesome.
Underrated. Good. Yeah, yep. So underrated.
Drive. Mm-hmm. Holy shit. That movie is awesome. And Ryan Gosling is awesome. Oh, yeah, exactly. I'm sorry. Just, I don't know if we can be friends after that, Jensen. Because Ryan Gosling, he's legit one of my favorite actors. He's good. The Notebook, come on, man.
Oh.
Actually, I don't care about that movie. I had to throw that out there because that's what everyone knows him for.
What's the one that he made with Emma Stone and Steve Carell?
Oh shit! What movie is that?
He was in La La Land.
That was a surprisingly good movie.
He was good in La La Land. Have you seen him in The Place Between the Pines?
Mm-hmm.
That movie is so good.
Yep.
Have you seen that movie, Jensen?
No.
He plays he plays like a small time hood.
Yep.
That gets like caught up in a bank robbery. It's a drama movie. It's really good. It's really good.
It's usually like if his name's on it, I avoid it.
You're stupid.
The Gray Man. The like Gray Man on Netflix is pretty good. Yep.
Yeah, that was really good.
I like that.
Yeah, I agree. That was good.
But yeah, I cannot wait for Dune Part 2.